So now that you've selected which seeds you want to grow, it's time to actually start planting them. And believe it or not, January is not too early to start planting some of the seeds that you have. Some of the seeds that I start in January are for cold weather crops like kale, lettuce, that kind of thing, and also some longer growing warmer weather crops. So I will actually start tomatoes this January or early February and start them in my house, which is where all my plants start. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do this though. One way that I have here, this is a brand new thing that I've just tried. These are little hemp blocks. So what I love about this is that they're renewable and they're clean. There's not a lot of dirt. So all you have to do is basically wet these little hemp blocks, put your seed in there, and then keep them moist and the seeds will grow. I started these lettuce seedlings a couple of weeks ago and they're doing pretty well. So this is a brand new thing for me, giving that a try. We'll see how it goes. I think pretty soon I'm going to have to pot these up, so to speak, in a larger pot with more actual soil around them. Another way to start seeds is to use a single container like this, fill it up with some growing medium, and then sprinkle a bunch of seeds in just one little pot like this. Once they start growing, then you will actually do what's called pricking them out and take out the little plants one by one and plant them into larger cells or trays. So my preferred method of starting seeds is actually using these seed trays. This gets me about 72 starts in a tray, and for you that might be all you actually need for your entire garden. I need a little bit more than that. Plus I also grow some extras to sell, but these are one of the easiest ways and most time effective ways I have found to start seeds. I used to start this with this method where I would do them in a tray, and that would save me a lot of space when I was starting. However, it was very time consuming to prick out those one by one and then plant them into larger trays. Now I found that I can go longer and have fewer potting up steps if I start with something like this, which is kind of a good combination between space saving and also time saving for me. Now that you have your seeds, you're ready to start planting. I'm going to show you the method that I use, and that is planting into a 72 cell tray. So you're going to need a couple of things. One, obviously a 72 cell tray, or any type of tray this size that has individual cells that you can plant into will work. You could also use, if you wanted, use a different method, you can plant into anything. A yogurt cup that you poke holes in the bottom. Some people make the little paper cups that they plant into. I don't have the patience for that, but God bless you. In addition to the cell tray, you'll also need a 10-inch by 20-inch tray that will actually hold the cell tray together so that you can carry it and not have them fall all over the place. So that's our first step. We'll put it into the 10 by 20 tray. I'm going to turn that here. And then the next thing we're going to do, obviously, is put in some growing medium. So what you need is something that is sterile. Basically, that's the most important thing. I have here some sterile seed starting mix. This is probably the best thing to start your seeds with, but you don't absolutely have to. You could start it with any sterile potting mix that you have. I don't recommend going out and grabbing soil from your garden, and here's why. When seedlings start growing, they're very susceptible to disease. They're very weak, they're just getting going. They need all the help they can. That's why we start them out in a sterile mix, because one of the things that people encounter most frequently when they're starting their own seeds is a little thing called damping off. And what that means is you'll have a seedling growing and it looks great, it looks fabulous, and all of a sudden you'll come back the next day and it's wilted and killed over, and it looks like it's got a little tiny stem right near the soil. That is a fungal disease that results in killing your seedling, which is a waste of time and money for you and really, really disappointing. So one of the first things that you can do to prevent that from becoming a problem is starting your seedlings with a sterile seed mix. So let's get this tray filled. This is going to be messy because I normally do this over a tray of soil, so I'm not used to doing it this way. Okay, that looks full, right? Wrong. You got to shake that baby down a little. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I made when I first started working, growing my own seeds, is that I didn't put enough soil in these little seed cells. And so what happens if you don't do that is that you don't get a lot of soil in there. There's not a lot of soil for the roots to grab onto. And then when you try and take it out, the whole ball of soil just falls apart, and that's not good for you or your seedlings. So what I do is sometimes I shake it down like that, but usually what I do is I go in and I go 2 by 2, poking down, and you'll find, especially in the corners of the pots of the entire tray, that those are the ones that didn't get the most soil. That's where I find most of the time. So I go in and push those down, spread that in, and grab a little bit more soil. I usually do this a couple of times. So get the corner, get the corner, get the corner. Okay, now I'm gonna do that again. And then go over again. And that should be pretty good. So the next step here is to take your tray and actually water it first before you put your seeds in. This is going to make your life a lot easier, because when this comes in, this is actually fairly dry, and so it takes a little bit to get it all soaked up. And what you risk if you plant it before you water it is then washing your seeds out. So let's go water this. I like to do it in my house when my husband isn't looking.